Hello, everybody. Happy Thursday. How are you? I'm so excited to welcome our guest speaker today, Mr. Zach Stevenson from the Broadway booking office. Zach, thank you so much for coming live with us today. It is an honor to have you here. We have worked together in the past, and I truly appreciate our friendship and you mentoring us and moving Broadway Utica into even a better direction with all your guidance. So I want to get right to it. We are so excited. So, Zach, why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself?
Sure. No, thanks, Danielle, for having me. My name is Zach Stevenson. As Danielle said, I work at Broadway Booking Office. I am the Vice President of Marketing and Press. So essentially, our office is hired by producers to represent their tours of Broadway shows. And so we oversee advertising, PR, ticket sales, pricing, all of that. And we work with Danielle and counterparts like her all over the country to book and market the various shows that are out on the road.
So exciting, so busy, and the amount of organizations you work with and how organized you are and keep everything aligned is so incredible. So I know it's not easy. I send you a million emails a day, so I can't imagine what other people probably send you, but you are extremely busy. So as you know, we have a youth ambassador program, with a lot of children that get to access the theater and see these wonderful shows. So I know they're on today and they watch religiously with us every other week. But how did you get started? What a little bit of advice can you even share with them, or how it all came to be a part where you were educated, first jobs, things along those lines?
Sure. So I actually went to college for this. I went to Point Park University in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, where I'm from, and my major was sport, art, and entertainment management. It was a new undergrad program that focused on business careers in the arts and in sports and in entertainment, hence the name of the major. And while I was there, I did an internship. Internships were required as part of the major, and I actually did several of them. One was with the Pittsburgh Playhouse, which was the Performing Arts Center on campus. And I also did an internship with the Pittsburgh Cultural Trust, which is the nonprofit arts organization in downtown Pittsburgh that owns the theaters and presents touring Broadway in addition to dance, music, visual arts. And so I interned with them while I was in college. After that, they hired me as a full time consultant. And then I worked for them full time after graduation. And I was a marketing manager in Pittsburgh for 3 years. And while I was doing that, I represented a lot of the Broadway national tours locally. And through that, I met a lot of the national representatives and worked with all of the national touring offices. And in 2009, I moved to New York to work for Broadway Booking Office. And I've been there for 11 years.
Incredible, incredible. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. I know one of the biggest questions is how do you get started in this industry? Is it based off of where you go to school or who you know and things like that? So I know the students really appreciate hearing just what is the next step for them because so many of them are passionate about the arts and Broadway. So we really appreciate you giving insight into that. And I'm sure they're all going to take notes and probably send you a message. So look forward to that. But so I know you work on several projects and several shows, but do you have a favorite? I know it's probably hard to pick one, but even a couple maybe, or what was your favorite or most fun project and show that you got to work on?
Yeah, it's hard to say because every show has something different and unique about it. I was lucky enough to represent several Disney titles. When I was in Pittsburgh, I worked on The Lion King that played a 6 week engagement at the Benedum Center, which was our theater. And so to work with Disney was a lot of fun. And I actually was able to represent two Disney titles when I was at BBO. I represented the national tour of
Wow.
Beauty and the Beast for 7 years, and I represented second national tour of Mary Poppins and oversaw the marketing and press for that with my colleagues. So it was just really great to work on such well-known titles, movies I had grown up with, and then to see them performed all across the country. It's great to have a show that welcomes in that new generation. And so that's always exciting to work on. I get to work on Jersey Boys. Again, I worked on it locally in Pittsburgh as the local marketing rep, and now I represent it nationally. with my colleagues,
And you
and
know
it's
that's a
great.
Utica favorite.
Oh yes, we just had an engagement last year that was a sellout, and we love coming to Utica with
Yeah.
that show. But
And we're
again, to
excited
work
to
on
have you back.
yes, again. But it's great to work on a show that people know and love, and that is such an international success. But again, I've worked on shows like Warhorse, which was a smash hit play from London that played Lincoln Center, and that toured the country for 2 years. And to work with the life-size puppets that had been created by Handspring, and those creators, and to work with the National Theater was exciting and a whole different experience for me. So I really do have the opportunity to work with so many different people all around the world, and to work with these artists and these creators, and then to impart their vision to the local marketing teams and press teams so that their audiences can experience these shows and understand their value. It's a dream job that I always wanted, and I'm very lucky to do it every day.
Awesome. And I know you work, I think maybe some people think it's one show at a time, but you're working on these shows, several titles within the same day and same
Oh yeah.
week. So it's incredible. It's awesome. And we're all super jealous of you that you get to see all these shows and work with all these people, but it's very exciting. So is there one thing that you wish that you maybe knew about your career before you got started, or you had known about it?
Um, a lot of it I learned on the job. I mean, I learned so much from my internships, both at the Pittsburgh Playhouse and at the Pittsburgh Cultural Trust, and then, of course, my time consulting at the Pittsburgh Cultural Trust. I really got to understand the ins and outs of the business of theater. I got to see sort of how the business works, and that experience was invaluable because that's something you can't really be taught. So when I got hired full time at the Cultural Trust, I already knew sort of how things worked, and what the expectations were. And then from there, I learned a lot more over the next 3 years. And then I came to New York thinking I knew a lot, but while I did know a lot in one area, there was a lot that I had to learn. And I'm still learning 11 years later about the industry, about new ways of approaching things. But it is never boring. And I think as long as you're open to learning and open to working with lots of different people, that's really, I think, the most beneficial thing to keep in mind.
Absolutely. And, we're still learning every day in our roles and our staff and our team. And each show is different. And I think that's the beauty of the industry is you learn from each show. They all share that common, sense and message as far as getting a show on stage and following all the
Hmm.
right procedures. But each person does it differently. You can learn from it. You can ask questions. And even we work so closely with other theaters around the country just to see what works best for them or their market or what's comparable to our size, because Utica is so unique and special, and we have such amazing patrons and theater goers, but based on our population and the size of our theater, it's sometimes difficult to spread that message to everybody. So yeah, I know I learn stuff from you guys and so many other people every day, and I think that's the beauty of this industry is you just never stop learning, and it's up to you to continue to keep pursuing that
Hmm.
as well and asking those questions. So, what is one typical myth about your profession that you think everybody thinks? Like, is it that you get to see every show, or it's a glorified, or it's a 9 to 5? What is the typical myth about being at the level that you are in this industry?
So it's definitely not 9 to 5. Um, we work typical office hours. I say that a bit flippantly because in addition to the office hours we work, we still have shows happening on at night, on the weekends, and you never know when there's going to be a phone call or a text or an email that needs addressed. So you're sort of always working and always have that in your mind. Um, it, it's not always glamorous, but it definitely has its glamorous moments. You do have those opening night parties. You do occasionally get to work with celebrities or meet very famous people. But at the same time, too, you have deadlines. You have stressful days. You have spreadsheets and budgets that you need to keep intact. Um, there's a fair bit of travel with this, which some people love to travel, some people don't. I personally do. So I've been able to see think I've been to 32 states or 34 states in the last 11 years,
Wow.
just traveling to different theaters, meeting different colleagues around the country, seeing shows, having meetings. So, yeah, it's glamorous, but it is a lot of work. It's definitely not Mad Men where we have, martinis at lunch and don't actually have work to do. There is a lot of work to do. And as you said, Danielle, sometimes we're working on 2, 3, 4, 5 different shows at the same time. And the number of emails and the number of phone calls and art approvals and, budget reviews, it's a big job, I have to say.
It is. And we approve the martinis on our meetings. So if you ever need a martini after all my questions, feel free to drink it. But it is, and like you say, art approvals and budgets and dynamic pricing and all the back end stuff that maybe isn't
Hmm.
so visible to the audience all the time. But something as simple as, maybe a poster or a marquee, it goes through its ranks, and how well you and your organization keep everything so in line and keep us on track. It's just wonderful that you manage that with several other presenters and several other titles. So we know it's not the easiest thing in the world, but
But one of the really cool things I think is that, the Stanley Theater, you guys are a direct line to Broadway. So when Jersey Boys comes through, when Hairspray comes through, when Beautiful comes through, you guys book the show, you work with us, but we're working with the producers and the creators that created the Broadway show. So there is that through line of the art that is being performed on stage, the posters that are being created, the TV spots that your patrons are seeing. That is directly approved by the people that created this show. So it really is, them bringing Broadway in partnership with you to your stages and to your audiences. So it's not just that, it's any version of Jersey Boys. It is the Tony Award winning Broadway version of Jersey Boys. And same with many of the other shows that you represent. So it's very cool that, you know, your audiences are only 3 or 4 steps away from someone who won a Tony Award for this show, or someone who's been
it's
able to mount this
incredible.
show in 14 countries around the world. So it is very cool that there is this community and this commitment to bringing these shows on the road, because that commitment of excellence and of sharing the art beyond the 14 blocks that Broadway exists is so important.
Mhm. It is so important. I get chills when you talk about it because we feel so honored, especially when a show is teched here. That's huge for us. Like we're doing with Hairspray and having
Hmm.
so many people in town and working so closely to make sure the message is represented from the minute those show lights go on. So we are honored as a community and as a theater in Broadway Utica and everything, to be grateful to even be chosen to be one of those first people to send the message, but to make sure it's being upheld throughout the tour. So even if we aren't teching it and it's coming to us in the spring, that it still holds its same value and same branding throughout that whole season. So we know how important it is. We are so honored that we even have the talent come across the stage that we do, because it is not easy and it is a lot of work. And we know how hard you work and so many people in the production work to make sure it is a perfect performance. And
No,
I
but
know it.
we
I don't. I keep saying I don't know how you do it.
Yeah, but I mean, we love teching in Utica. It's a gorgeous theater. It's a great town. You and your team are wonderful to work with. So I know we've teched a few shows with you before, and we definitely look forward to doing that again with Hairspray.
Absolutely, we can't wait for you to get here. So I know it's been a busy day. It's been a busy year, month, week, everything in between. So we're going to wrap it up shortly. But what would be your advice to someone who wants to pursue a career similar to yours? What's like maybe the best piece of advice you've received or that you can give somebody?
Um, I think it's important to be a fan of theater, to have that passion for wanting to see shows, wanting to sell shows. I see a lot of theater, but again, I think it's about getting involved locally, getting involved with community theaters, getting involved with your high school theater program, your college theater program. If you're able to be an usher at the Stanley, if you're able to volunteer, all of that stuff certainly helps to get to know who's involved and know how it works to decide if that's something that you want to do for you. And in addition to, marketing and press, there's general management, there's booking, there's ticket selling, there's lots and lots of roles that exist. So certainly if marketing and press isn't your vehicle, there's a lot of different ways that you can be involved in theater. And it's there's no industry like it, and it's nice to be able to go into work every day and have something different to work on and have somebody different to talk to. So that is my advice: is get involved and see if it's for you.
Yeah, we say it all the time too. We think we have the best jobs working in this industry, in
Yeah,
the arts industry, and meeting the people in the beautiful theaters and their stories and the messages and the titles that come across the stage. So last but not least, my favorite question to ask, put you on the spot a little bit. What are you most excited to see to come to Broadway, whether it's, on tour or back on stage, and what are you ready to go after and go and see it or work on?
Um, so I'm going to have a bias and say Hairspray. I saw the original Broadway company in 2004 on Broadway. I actually, when I was an intern at the Pittsburgh Cultural Trust, Hairspray was one of the shows I worked on as an intern, and it was the first national tour. And then second national tour played Pittsburgh while I was a marketing manager, so I worked on that. And now we get to take this incredible show across America again. It hasn't been on tour in over a decade, and I'm really excited to work on it and to continue to spread that message of joy and of acceptance and inclusion. So, yeah, I think Hairspray is one that I'm really excited to work on and to have everyone see either again or perhaps see for the first time.
Absolutely. And we're excited to have you back in Utica in just a few short months. So get ready for the cold and everything like that. But we'll definitely see you in 2021. So on behalf
For
of Broadway
sure.
Utica and our entire staff and patrons, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to be with us today. Zach Stevenson, Vice President of Marketing and Press at Broadway Booking Office, thank you again. And we look forward to seeing you extremely soon when you're here in Utica.
Thanks, Danielle. We'll see you soon. Take care.
All right. Bye, everybody. Thank you.